Ainda não tá live, viu?
Hello, can you hear
Agora
us?
sim.
Now, yes.
Test, can you hear us?
Let's refresh.
Can you hear us?
And yes, we are live.
Yeah.
Are we live?
Yes.
Cool. So thank you for joining us.
Yes.
I'm here in the UK. My name is Amanda. I'm one of the co-organizers of GDG Cloud London. And today we're having a very special community here with us, which is Flutterando Brazil. They're one of the biggest Flutter communities in the world. And even though they're all in the same country, they live in different cities which are very far from each other. They're going to have the opportunity to introduce themselves and to talk about their community, just a bit about GDG Cloud London. We're based here in London, UK, but during these unfortunate times that we're all stuck in our homes at the moment, it became kind of a global community like many others that you're watching the videos online right now. So it's good that we're able to have meetups with people all the way from Brazil, which is actually my home country as well. So this event is kind of a big deal for me. And without further ado, I would like one of you to introduce Flutterando Brazil.
So who's gonna pick this one? Sthefanny?
I think you guys should talk, but okay. So Flutterando is the biggest Flutter community in Brazil. And I will talk about what's Flutter. So I will talk about the general now, what's Flutter, what it was made for. So let's begin. Flutter is the Google's hybrid development. But before I talk about Flutter, I will talk about me first. So I work with development for 10 years. I am co-organizer of Flutterando, and I also work for a company here in Brazil called La.app. And I worked with PHP in the beginning of my career, PHP, HTML, JS, CSS, for about 4 years. And the last 6 years, I worked with C#. I also worked with AngularJS, but I wanted to try something different. So I thought about learning mobile, just like a hobby, you know. So I started with Xamarin because I already worked with C#. But I didn't really like it with the XAML. I didn't like the way you built the screens. So I heard about React Native, and I started studying it, React.js and React Native. But then I have the opportunity in my last job to start mobile app with Flutter, and it was love at first sight. And I don't want to work with the other technologies that I worked before. From now, I just want to work with Flutter. But okay, let's know more about me. Let's talk about what you guys are here for. So what's Flutter? Flutter is a framework for hybrid application development. You can do make application for iOS, Android. In the future, you will be able to work with web and also with desktop for Windows, Mac, Linux, everything. So it's a complete framework. The first stable version was released in December 2018, but the first release was in May 2017. It promised fast development and native apps performance. Okay, so I will show you guys about the how to reload. It is a really great thing. You can do your things, and when you save and press the hot reload button, you can see your changes on the go. It's real time. So you can see that it's he's changing something, and he clicks, and it instead of increase, it decreases the number. And he changed the word, and it will change here. So it's a very good thing to have. It have expressive and beautiful UIs. So you don't need to say no to your designer anymore. You can do everything you want. And you have native performance. That's very cool because we don't lose many things for the native application. And Flutter works with Dart. Dart is a strongly typed programming language. It was created by Google in 2011. And its initial mission was to replace JavaScript. But as you all probably know, it didn't work. But Flutter came to save Dart and brought the language back to life. Oh, sorry. Okay, here is an example of Dart, a hello world with Dart and a class. It's very similar to other object-oriented languages. So if you already worked with C#, Java, JavaScript, you won't have much problem with it. And this is an example of hello world in Flutter. It is not very complicated. It uses widgets everywhere, so you can use a widget inside another and create those screens. We'll see some more examples later. Okay, so the Flutter engine was mainly written in C++, and it provides render support using Google's skiographic library. So it's very easy to draw wherever you want in the screen. And Flutter differentials. I will compare with some other hybrid languages. So it's not based on WebView like PhoneGap, Apache Cordova, Ionic. It does not need a bridge of communication with native. It has reactive style, just React Native. We don't need to use DOM, we use widgets. It's better, and it's faster. Okay, so I will compare it more with React Native because it's the major rival. And React Native actually was the inspiration for Flutter. So the main difference is that React Native actually needs a bridge to communicate the JavaScript code with the native code. And with Flutter, you don't need this. Flutter can communicate directly with native, so it makes things more faster. Okay, but what the heck are widgets? Buttons, text box, menus, fonts, color, themes, spacing, positioning. The whole application uses widgets. The application itself is a widget. And you can have widgets adapted to each platform. And I like to say that widgets are like Lego, because you can put one, you can get one into another. So almost all widgets have attributes called child that you can have one other widget inside, or children that you can have multiple children inside it. So it's just like you go mounting your Lego. And Flutter is reactive, so you can do one thing and have a reaction based on that thing. So it's very easy to do things with Flutter. And this is, you can have two classes, stateless or stateful classes. So stateless, it will not change itself. It will not redraw inside it. And stateful, it will, it can be rebuilt anytime you want. Okay, so here we have an example of some companies using Flutter. There are some big ones like Google, Tencent, eBay, BMW, iFood, Square. We have Nubank here in Brazil. Is a big digital bank. All of them are using Flutter. That's very nice. Okay, I want to show you some code, and for this, I will use Dartpad. It is a very nice site that you can do things with Dart. And you can do things in Flutter as well. Here we have some samples. This first one are with Dart, and these are Flutter. You can see the symbol. So I will show you the basic example that is the counter. Let me just make the screen bigger. Okay. So when you begin an app with Flutter, this will be the code that we will have in your project. This is the example. It's a screen with a text and with a number, and while you keep pushing the button, it will increase the number. So I just want to show you the basic structure of the code. So you will have a man that will call a run app, and you choose what class you want it to start. So this class is my app that it's calling here, and it extends from the stateless widget that I talked before. And all the class that extends from stateless or stateful will have a build method that you need to override. That will be the first thing that will run in this class. So we are using here a widget called material app. That's what make it with the UI like material design, with the material design. So you can have a title for your application. Here is a banner that's normally appears there. I can show you. I will change here and run. You see there is a debug banner here. Okay, so we don't need this, so you can put the false here. Here it specifies the theme. You can specify the theme of all application in here. You have theme for buttons, for text, for everything in the application you can set inside here. And you call what page you want to be your home, your first page. So I'm calling this class my home page, and I'm passing an attribute called title. So here you can see my home page. It is a stateful widget, so it can rebuild itself, like I explained before. And when you create a stateful widget, you will have one just for a start, another one with the state, because the state is what is changing, what makes something reactive here. Like this number here has a state that changes. So this is the class with the state, and we have a parameter with a counter, a method that will increase this counter and add it into the state of this class. And here we have the build, that is what will be called first. Just like before, you need to override this build. And we have a scaffold. Scaffold is a widget that helps us to have this. I will answer all questions later, okay? So I will continue here, and then I can ask all your questions. The scaffold widget is what makes this like this face of the application, like the material design. So we can have an app bar attribute here, that is here. You can add the title, that is this title. It is getting from the title that was passed here. So if I change here to hello GDG London, it will change here, as you guys can see. So the app bar is this part. We can change the color as well. Like I said, the color is called here. We can change to purple, for example. You will see that we will change it there. And we are using this as the primary swatch, so it will define the color of all application. You can set these colors separately, but this is for all the application. And you have in the body of the scaffold that will represent this part, you have a widget called center, that I think it's over to center things, and column. Column will have one upside another one, below, sorry, one below the other, If I put one more widget, it will go down below. So if I put another text, for example, it should show below the number. So this is how the column works. It puts one widget below the other, and the row will put one beside the other. So that's the difference. And we are calling that counter attribute that is set here. And we have a floating action button, that is this button that is floating. And you can add an icon to it and call what you do when you press this button. So it calls this method that will increase the counter. And that's it. I just want you to have an idea of how Flutter works. Of course, it can be more complicated or more simple. And this set state, I want to talk about the other options we have. So let's continue our presentation. And that's called state manager. So we have lots of state managers. The one built with Flutter is the set state, but you have inherited widget, inherited model, provider, scoped model, Redux. If you come from React Native, probably you know Redux. We have block with Rx or without Rx. Rx is a library that is made for many languages. We have Rx Dart, that is what we use with Dart, but it's have for Java, C#, JavaScript, for any languages you want. It's something to add reactive to our code. It was very used in the beginning. It was very used in the beginning, the block with Rx. But now we prefer Mobx. I mean, the majority of people in Flutterando and another place prefer Mobx because it is very easy to teach people, and block was very difficult for someone that didn't have any knowledge of programming language before to understand. So Mobx is my preferred. But you can try all these state managers. Well, that's it. We have a group for girls. This one is for girls. The boys will show the one for general. We have only Brazilian women there, but I think it would not be a problem to have people with other languages. So this is the Telegram group for the girls that want to learn Flutter. We have the channel on YouTube that is from Flutterando as well. And so this is it. If you have any questions, I am open to try to answer. And thank you for the opportunity. God, 551 people watching. Hello from New Zealand. Stay home, yeah, good. Please stay home, guys. I saw there was some, okay. Can I set Cupertino theme on theme attribute in this class? The theme attribute, no, because it's another thing. It's just for colors and things like that. But yes, you can use the Cupertino theme wherever you want it. Here it's adding the material, but you can add Cupertino as well, and you can actually use verify if you want, if the user is with an iOS, so use the theme for iOS in some widget, or the Android theme in the same widget. You know, it's easy to do that. Great presentation, congrats. Thank you, Hamilton. Thank you, Edvi. Oh, sorry if I'm pronouncing incorrectly. Thanks, Ian. Thank you, everyone.
Congrats.
Thank you. Amanda, I think you are muted.
Very good. It was just to see if you're paying attention. Thank you so much for this. Can I just know more about this Flutter community for women? Can you just get back to that? Give us some links or something?
Okay, so we are part
Flutter
of
girls.
Flutterando. Yeah, we are part of Flutterando, but this specific Telegram group is only for girls because many girls don't are not safe to talk in a general group. So we created this to help women to try to have their doubts answered with in a place safe. So that's why we created it.
Great initiative.
I was reading about Mobex and Blog. Do you know if both work with Stream? Yes, both work with Stream. Mobex, you can do it in a way that you don't need to do this manually. It can do for you. But yes, both work with Stream.
Very, very good. So if you have any more questions, where can they find you, Steph?
I am part of Flutterando, so we have the general group as well. I think the boys will show the link for the general group, but I have let me show here. I have these spaces in Instagram, in LinkedIn, and I use it to do live in Twitch TV. It's a long time I don't do that, but maybe can come back to do.
Very good. There's one more question. Do you have time or?
Yeah, sure. If I decide not to use Flutter, does it enough to be starting to work with mobile? Well, I will tell you my experience. I never worked with mobile before, and now I'm working with it. So yeah, it is possible. And Flutter is growing, so we will have many many opportunities to work with it.
Very good. So I see that Flutterando is also on Instagram, Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And YouTube.
YouTube. Okay, so shall we move on to our second speaker, because we will have so many questions for you. So if you would like to talk to her, as she said, she's part of the organization of Flutterando Brazil, so you can find her contact in there. YouTube, also YouTube. Okay, so you spoke about Flutter Girls. Would you like to say a bit more about Flutterando Brazil, guys?
So basically, Flutterando is an independently community that started in 2018 in, I think, November or September or October. And we are doing content day by day in Medium, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all of the social media. And just type Flutterando in Google and you'll find us.
Kelven, share your screen.
No, yes, yeah. I think that was just to explain what Flutterando is.
And by the way, we have 3 Brazilians here today, but in GDG Cloud London, we're also going to have another Brazilian speaker on Saturday. So if you have some time on your hands, you can check the next event. Can I add your slides? Kelven,
Yes.
you ready? Cool. With
Bye,
that,
guys.
I'll leave you to give your talk.
So, hello, guys. I'm Kelven Galvão. I'm co-organizer of Flutterando. And I don't have 10 years experience like Sthefanny. I'm just a young boy that programmer. And I just have 1 year experience in the market, and it's with Flutter. Flutter was my getting started, and I think that will be my first framework for a long time. So I'm here to talk about security screen with widget testing. That is one of the best features of Flutter, in my opinion. Maybe some people like animations, design. I agree with that. It's wonderful, but I'm really passionate about testing. So let's go. What is the big problem? When you're developing medium and large applications, we create a lot of pages, and the user passing by this page create a lot of scenarios, and we make sure that all of the scenarios, pages are working well and doesn't have any bug. So the most common way to secure that is making manual tests, but manual test is a lot of expensive, spend a lot of time of the developer, and if you have a way to do it automated, it's a really better. And the most important part is the developer cannot act as a user because he knows the application, he knows how to use it, and the user not. And it's two teams that don't have any QA professional, so you can write your tests by your own. So what is widget test? It's a simple way to test the components of the screen, the widgets, and in Flutter, all the components are widgets, all the pages are widgets, all its widgets. So you can test a little button, a little text, or an entire page. And you don't need device setup like integration test. It's faster than integration test because it's faster like unit test. It's really easy to learn and write, so you don't have any excuse to don't write widget tests. So here is a comparison between unit, widget, and integration test. So widget test has a higher confidence. It's not the highest. The highest is integration, as you see. But if you compare execution, speed, and dependencies, you see that widgets make more sense than integration tests, and the benefits, it's very bigger. So here we have a test widget that is a stateless widget. So it's a simple page that have a net bar, a column, a flat button, a float action button, and we're gonna test it. So first of all, you need to create our test archive and test folder in your Flutter project, and you need to put underline test in the final of the archive, because only with it, the Flutter, you recognize your archive as a test archive, and we run on Flutter run in console. So the second step, it's declare our main and the test widget. Test widgets, it's a block of testing code that provide a widget tester that I'm gonna explain in the next slide. And it's a asynchronous function because it's about rendering, and these things are async and Flutter. So when you're starting with widget testing, we know about widget tester, pump widget, pump and settle, and find it. But what is this, guys? Widget tester is the responsible to build the widget, to interact with the widget in a device created in memory. Pump widget is the responsible. It's an API from widget test, pump widget. Pump widget is responsible to create our widget, and pump is the responsible to rebuild the widget with the new data. If you increment a counter, you call pump widget you call pump widget to create the counter, and you call the pump to rebuild the widget with the new data that is 1 if you come from 0. Pump and settle, it's kind of similar with pump, but pump and settle, you rebuild the screen until the last frame, and it's very important with you testing a page that have animations. So you call pump and settle, and it will rebuild the screen time by time until the last frame of the animation. And the finder, as name says, it's the way we encounter our widgets in the widget tree. So let's continue. It's a way that I write my code. I separate the pump widget from the block code to reutilize in another block of testing codes. So I call pump widget and pass the material app, because our test widget are using material widgets. So it depends on material theme. So, and after that, I call pump just to make sure that all the data is scienced at the start of the test. So here is the test, is basically it. So you, again, you don't have any excuse to don't write it. And there is a lot of ways to find a widget in a widget tree from widget tester. You can find by text, by key, by type. And here is 3 examples. So expect, it's used to expect our behavior. So we call expect find text test widget. And I say finds one widget. That means that I wanna find just one widget in the widget tree, and I can find by key, test with button key, or by type like floating action button. And let's talk about gestures. That it's one of the most important part of the widget testing. That is when we gonna test the interaction of user in our application. So here is another widget that is a stateful. That is basically a basic counter that you find in the first project in Flutter. And you're gonna test that is all working well, or are we expected. So first I create the widget, passing the tester, and I'm gonna try to find a text to 0, that is the first value of a counter. And after that, I call tester to tap in a certain area of our widget tree. In this case, I pass the widget found by finder. So I call tap and pass find by type. So I'm finding the widget in our tree that has the type floating action button, and I tap it. And after that, I call pump to rebuild the screen. So now we have the data scienced, the new data, and now we can find if the counter increments our value by 1. So I expect to find nothing about 0 text, and I wanna find 1 there is finds widget. So basically, this is the most part of the widget testing. The other things is about mocking some dependencies, some behaviors, but in the most of time, you're gonna work with tab, pump widget, expects, finders, and it's simple. It's like a unit test. You can learn and know what is doing, and that's it. You have a secondary screen with this piece of code, this little piece of code. So again, you don't have any excuse to doesn't make widget testing. So thank you. And again, I'm Flutter and organizer, and that's it. If you have some questions, I'm here to answer. Thank you, Eddie. So don't worry if you don't have any questions, because it's a feature that was not used a lot, but now you know it, and I think you can use it in the next. What's the better way to start in test? Paulo, I think the best way is starting with unit test to test your logic. Basically, unit testing is responsible to test all of the small piece of your code. So you can start with a POC, an MVP of your product. You don't have to test all of things, your code, just when you feel comfortable with it. So you can start with unit testing. We have some videos in Flutterando channel, so it will be easy. Do you think that it's possible to test all of conditions in a large app? Hamilton, I think all of conditions, no, but 99% of your code you can test with Flutter with widget testing. All the other 1% is the piece of your code that is a lot of fragile, like deep link, like a QR code. So you can use interrogation tests to test this little piece fragile in your code, because depends on another dependencies that is constantly in changing, and depends on native code. So when are testing widgets necessary? So the testing widget is necessary when you have a lot of pages that generates a lot of scenarios. So if you have a user that, depending on his attributes, you just pass in a screen, and with certain attributes you show some widget, and all the attributes you show another widget. So when you have this scenario, it's important to have widget testing, because if you don't have all the changes in code, you have to test in manually or in production. That is a horrible thing to do. Don't test in production. So don't wait for your user to find the bug. You can find the bug in testing and the CI. So do that.
Okay.
I think there is 2 more questions. Kelvin, wow, my xará in Brazil, when you have a similar name. So yes, the test framework is from Flutter. It's own API, so you don't depend on another third packages. So it's all love.
Okay.
So
Last question.
The last question. I think in the start, it's important just do write tests. Don't worry about TDD or BDD. Just write tests. When you are comfortable with testing, when you are comfortable with the API of test of Flutter, you can try TDD or BDD or another methodology that can fit your scenario, your app, or your team.
I think that answer is great for everything. So how do I do something that I've never done before? You just go and do it. That's like,
Yes.
Would you like to come and speak in English today? Yes. Great taking on this challenge. So we have our final speaker today from Flutterando. And I think we're covering him with one of the questions. So the last one, Fausto. Welcome.
Well, thanks.
So exciting to have you here today. I'll give you all the screens for you now. Let me remove everyone else. Very good work, folks. The stage is all yours.
Hi, people. My name is Fausto Blanco. I am a community manager at Flutterando. I am head mobile at Sofia. But today, I'm going to talk about design system out of context in Flutter. This is an unexpected formula method of use extension methods from Dart to write your design system simple and directly away. But what is design system? It is a set of standards of design code and componentized that unify the two practices. First, design. This is a design system created for platform I work on. It is a beautiful design. And code to apply quickly and directly. I realized that called created widget, text extension, and create default theme for it. And how do that? Use extensions. But what is extensions? Introduced in Dart 2.7, a way add functionality to the existing libraries. You might use extension methods without having to know it. For example, when you use code completion in EDE, it suggests extension methods alongside regular methods. Below link for documentation. But this is an extension based. The way to create an extension very simple. We use keyword extension, which, as the name says, you will make us created extension of the class at similar that will put in class. We give this extension name, create methods inside, and the rest wherever it is the code, in the code. But why choose? Decrease code, standardize, they use some components, streamline the creation of new screens. When not used, mixing with state management, if you contains a lot of dynamic content. For example, request, HTTP request, and the others. More examples. Use for static methods. Class color scheme and the same class colors. Sthefanny think about this. This example of the use extension in the color class, but not in the color class. And create static methods to get those colors with just a color themes dot primer. And here material color, which allows me to have a default color and a range of colors that can be accessed by passing between ticks the value of the key made earlier, similar to an array. Use examples. This is my style of title age 1, using color scheme dot shades of gray 50, which are my material color here. As the name says, we have the gray tones of the application. I'm defining a default style of my text and merge the default text in the injection style. Now merge styles and this form. I'm use default style in standard age 1 title. I'm use injection mode, injection style mode in the age 1 tile font size 17 and colors pink. This graphical example. Vocês podem look how amazing the same style of changed color and size, but hands-on. Okay. The same example. Use default style age 1 and style with inject other text style in code. Look here. It's my default style. In text style, we have a merge method. We might combine styles. Okay. Is my default style. And the other default styles. Okay. Okay. But not using for design. I use for internationalization or translate app. For example, I não lembro dizer o que é isso. This method create here a default length, not passing params. Stay here in Portuguese. And passing param PTB here permanence in Portuguese. Es Max. Estás em espanhol. And that's all, folks. Thanks, guys. In right, Flutterando community, social networks, it's an aggregator of community links. In the left side, my social networks. Thanks.
Does anyone have any questions? That was excellent. Thank you. Just to give you some context, I traveled to Brazil now in March, where I met Fausto. And then we started to talk like, we should make an event together. We should host something together. And I'm like, are we going to do it in English? And then he was an amazing person because he went to Kelven, he went to Steph, and then everyone went on board. And this was a big challenge. I'm going to put the two of them back here. This was a big challenge for them. So this was your first talk in English, wasn't it?
Yes.
I think you're muted. So do you remember when you did something for the first time? So I know the feeling that you're doing right now, but I can assure you did great.
I'm very nervous.
And GDG Cloud London is a really welcoming community here in London. Like, you have people from so many nationalities. It's really nice. So I hope we weren't too hard on you. We really love to hear more about Flutter, because I have never had the experience before to know about Flutter. So thank you for giving from your own time to be here today, to the three of you. Kelvin is washing his hands, which is something really important. And do you have any final questions? Since you have three folks from Flutterando here, they can answer your questions. Anything you want to know? Not anything. So when is your next event?
It's tomorrow. Tomorrow, I think 9 p.m. in Brazil, 9:30 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And in London, I don't.
London is the UK is 4 hours ahead, so I'm gonna be sleeping. But it's a holiday tomorrow.
1 a.m.
So maybe.
It's London, 1 a.m.
Take a big breath.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks.
It's difficult to talk in Portuguese. You can imagine in English. So,
guys, come on! You have so many people from Brazil in here. Would you like to say a few words in Portuguese?
Obrigado pela presença de todos aqui para ver a gente cometendo algumas gafes no inglês, tentando falar inglês para os quase, eu creio que sejam os criadores da língua. Então, obrigado pela presença de todos.
Eu só tenho
Do we have any Brazilians here? Cadê os brasileiros?
Eu só tenho a agradecer, Amanda, o convite. Eu ia jogar só a Sthefanny na boca quente, acabei entrando no meio da...
Realmente, a gente tem muito que agradecer. Obrigada aí pela oportunidade. Tá? Flutter, eu não palestrava antes de começar com o Flutter, então eu já tive que palestrar algumas vezes, poucas, e agora em inglês, né, para dar aquela incrementada, né? Então, obrigada aí pela oportunidade.
By the way, you have someone from Flutterando who just became a Google Developers Expert.
Yes, it's
Jacob.
Jacob Moura.
Jacob Moura. Jacob Moura. Jacob.
He's watching, so
Hi,
you
Zing.
can say hi, Jacob, please.
Okay, do you have any more final questions, comments, anything else? One very important question Saverio, my husband, asked. I think it scrolled. Where is it? Saverio asked. Got so many people typing. Hang on. Okay, I lost it. He was asking. So when is the next collaboration?
So
When are we going to do the next collaboration? People are already asking for it.
when you guys from GDG Cloud London want it, just call
Read
Fausto.
this message. I watch your event from Stockholm 5 hours ahead.
Oh, nice.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Look at this. People from Argentina. Brazil.
Hola, hermanos.
Hola. You have to say a few words of.
No, well, I was following the whole thing from the other room, and it was great. Thank you, everyone. Parabéns para a vossa participação. Eu não falo muito português, eu provo.
Ele tenta?
Eu tento. Eu fui no Brasil no dezembro. Foi muito bonito. Eu espero que voltar para o Brasil.
Ele fala tão bem quanto o Picon.
Nice.
You
Thank you
can
from Morocco.
you can ask for your husband to make the original Italian hand.
Very soon we will have even an emoji with that. We can have an emoji with that.
Cool.
Very cool.
We from Brazil can have emoji about samba too.
And if you think about that, the Italian emoji, it's just a reverse salt pitching.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. See you very soon.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I hope for it.
Yeah.
Thank you for the invitation, and bye bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye, everyone.
Bye-bye, people.